There was once a miller who was poor, but he had one beautiful daughter. It happened one day that he came to speak with the king, and to give himself consequence, he told him that he had a daughter who could spin gold out of straw. The king then said to the miller, "This is an art that pleases me well. If your daughter is as clever as you say, bring her to my castle tomorrow. Then I may put her to the proof." When the girl was brought to him, he led her into a room that was quite full of straw and gave her a wheel and a spindle and said, "Now set to work, and if by the early morning you have not spun this straw to gold, you shall die." And he shut the door himself and left her there alone. And so the poor miller's daughter was left there sitting and could not think what to do for her life. She had no notion how to set to work to spin gold out of straw, and her distress grew so great that she began to weep. Then all at once, the door opened, and in came a little man. He said,
"Good evening, miller's daughter. Why are you crying?"
"Oh," answered the girl, "I've got to spin gold out of straw, and I don't understand the business."
"Oh," then the little man said, "what will you give me if I spin it for you?"
My necklace," said the girl. The little man took the necklace, seated himself before the wheel, and whirl, 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 3 times round, and the bobble was full. Then he took up another, and whirl, 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 3 times round, and that was full. And so he went on till the next morning, when all the straw had been spun and all the bobbins were full of gold. And when he saw the gold, he was astonished and very much rejoiced, for he was very avaricious. He had the miller's daughter taken into another room filled with straw, much bigger than the last, and told her that as she valued her life, she must spin it all in one night. The girl did not know what to do, so she began to cry. And then the door opened, and the little man appeared. He said,
"What will you give me if I spin this straw for you into gold in one night?"
The ring from my finger," answered the girl. The little man took the ring, and he began again to send the wheel whirling around. Whirl, 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 3 times round, and the bobbins were full. And by the next morning, all the straw was spun into glistening gold. king was rejoiced beyond measure at the sight. But as he could not have enough of gold, he had the miller's daughter taken into a still larger room full of straw and said, "This, too, should be spun in one night, and if you can accomplish it, you shall be my wife." For he thought, although he is but the miller's daughter, I am not likely to find anyone richer in the whole world. As soon as the girl was left alone, the little man appeared for the third time. He said,
What will you give me if I spin this all for you this time?
"I've nothing to give," answered the girl.
Then you must promise me the first child you have after you are queen,
said the little man. "But who knows whether that will happen," thought the girl. But as she did not know what else to do in her necessity, she promised the little man what he desired. Upon which he began to spin. Whirl, whirl, whirl. 3 times round until all the straws became gold. And when in the morning the king came and found all done according to his wish, he caused the wedding to be held at once, and the miller's daughter became a queen. In a year's time, she brought a fine child into the world and thought no more of the little man. But one day, the little man came suddenly into her room and said,
Now, give me what you promised me.
The queen was terrified greatly and offered the little man all the riches of the kingdom if he would only leave the child. But the little man said,
No, I would rather have something living than all the treasures in the world.
Then the queen began to lament and to weep. The little man had pity on her, and he said,
All right, I'll give you 3 days, said he. And if at the end of this time you cannot tell my name, then you must give up your child to me.
Over all the names that she had ever heard, and sent a messenger through the land to ask far and wide for all the names that could be found. And when the little man came the next day, beginning with Casper, Melchior, Balthasar, she repeated all she knew and went through the whole list. But after each, the little man said,
That is not my name.
The second day, the queen sent to inquire of all neighbors what their servants were called, and told the little man all the most unusual and singular names, saying, Perhaps your name is Rose Ribs, Sheep Shanks, or Spindle Shanks. But he answered nothing with, But
that is not my name.
The third day, the messenger came back again and said, I've not been able to find one single new name. But as I passed through the woods, I came to a high hill, and near it was a little house. And before the house burnt a fire, and round the fire danced a comical little man. And he hopped on one leg and cried,
Today I bake, tomorrow I brew. The day after that, the Queen's child comes in, and oh, I'm glad that nobody knew that the name I'm called is Rumpelstiltskin.
You cannot think how pleased the Queen was to hear that name. And soon afterwards, when the little man walked in and said,
Now, Mrs. Queen, what is my name?
She said at first,
Oh, are you called Jack? No.
Then are you called Henry?
No.
And then she said, Then perhaps your name is Rumpelstiltskin? Ah! The devil told you that! The devil told you that! Cried the little man. And in his anger, he stamped his right foot so hard that it went into the ground above his knee. Then he seized his left foot with both his hands in such a fury that he split into two. And there was the end of him.